Take one. As we dealt this past Sunday with Paul's letter to the Corinthians, we were in chapter 6. And as he did back in those days, as we do in our world today, that we know that this place called church definitely intersects with the world, with our culture, with our community. And indeed, there is a great intersection between the sacred and the secular. There's an intersection between the spiritual and the physical. And we see it play out, whether you are a Christ follower or not. Each one of us has a system of belief. And that system of belief influences our reasoning, our way of thinking and dealing and handling with our world and with the problems that we encounter. And in some ways, it helps us to interpret what it means to be free and to interpret those freedoms, whether they are freedoms of society or freedoms that we call Christian freedoms. As Paul included in his text, that there were some familiar sayings that he used in this text. And I'm sure they were not just church speak, familiar sayings to the people of the congregation, but they were probably familiar sayings to all of culture. We have some of those kind of sayings too. It helps us to make sense of our life. And sometimes we use them to justify our behavior. Well, the first one Paul uses in this text is, all things are lawful for me. In other words, all things are permissible. All things are possible, especially for a Christ follower, because of course we have grace and abundance. So what difference does it make? Well, Paul also uses the saying, food is meant for the stomach and the stomach for food. Makes sense. Don't know for sure why he brought that up, but it's in the sense of his focus on the body. And we have a similar saying in our life when we focus in on our body. You know, you might use some of the commercial slogans, dun 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 dun, I'm loving it. Or Burger King used to say, have it your way. Now, there's one saying I'm sure that you can finish for me. If it feels good, yeah, if it feels good, do it. In some ways, we give this body of ours a lesser importance, because we know that it's only a temporary vessel. It's going to someday be put in a box or burned up and put into a jar. And because it has this lesser importance in our mind, we tend to trivialize certain sins of the body. It might be in regards to our sexual being, that we point our finger at the one who is having an illicit affair. But there we are watching our R-rated movies. It could be in regards to food. We point our finger and shame the one who is a bulimic. But here we are eating so plentifully that, yes, we are quite gluttonous. It could be in regards to drink, alcohol. It could be in regards to exercise, smoking. Whatever that sin might be of the body for you. And in fact, even in an older adult congregation like mine, it's in regards to drugs, not the overuse of them, but refusing to take them. And we tend to trivialize it by saying, if it's not hurting anyone, by doing that we claim sin, my sin, your sin. We claim that sin is not really a sin. In fact, we diffuse the horror of sin. We do it by renaming it something else. It's a habit. It's a crutch. Even those theologians, the Rolling Stones, they renamed it Mother's Little Helper. By doing this, by not calling sin what it really is, a sin, we jeopardize God's intention for our body. And if we jeopardize God's intention for this body, it impacts and jeopardizes God's intention for the body of Christ, which he calls the church. That's the first take.